Mr. West and Mr. Schiffer, in Saigar Sopko's reports and in his testimony to this committee, he documented several ways in which the Taliban has been diverting and stealing humanitarian aid. Do you have any reason to believe that he is lying in his testimony or his reports?
I will offer from a USAID perspective that we certainly don't have any reason to believe that he is lying. I think we have questions which we're talking to him about the analysis that underlies that we have not yet seen, and making sure that we're drawing the distinctions between diversion.
Reclaim my time, Mr. West.
You know, it's clear that there have been instances of reports of diversion, of reports of the Taliban trying to interfere in aid delivery, and when that happens, as the
I asked a simple
administrator
question. Do you have any reason to believe he's lying? Yes or no?
Yeah, I would say the same thing as Assistant Administrator Schiffer. We're in close touch with SIGAR about the methodology behind that reporting, but no, I do not have reason to believe.
I'm going to ask you two yes or no questions, and please actually try to stick to that. Yes or no, have you seen any evidence of the Taliban demanding payoffs to permit the implementation of aid projects? Yes or no?
And I do apologize. I'm happy to have a fuller discussion in a separate
Mr. West?
setting.
Yes or no?
I'd be happy to have a conversation with you in a separate setting.
Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban diverting aid to preferred populations such as Taliban fighters and family members? Yes or no?
Well, with all due respect, we've seen...
No, you're showing no respect to this committee, but please, yes or no? I'm asking you very simple, basic questions. It's yes or no.
We've seen attempts.
You've seen attempts. Okay. Yes or no, Mr. West?
We've likewise seen attempts, and I'm aware of several instances in which our implementing partners have fully ceased operations, in some cases in entire provinces.
Okay. Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban pressuring the UN and other NGOs to hire Taliban members, relatives, and allies?
I will say again, we've seen attempts.
Same.
Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban pressuring the UN and other NGOs to issue contracts to Taliban-affiliated companies?
I have not personally seen that. I have heard that there have been attempts to do that as well.
Same.
Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban pressuring the UN and other NGOs to partner with Taliban-affiliated NGOs?
Again, I know that there have been attempts.
Same here.
Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban embedding intelligence officials in UN agencies to supervise their work, facilitate interference and diversion, and censor reporting about it?
On that one, I have no knowledge.
On that one, in my case, no.
Yes or no, have you seen evidence of the Taliban collecting taxes and other fees from UN and U.S.-funded implementing partners?
Depending upon what constitutes other fees, yes.
I agree with my colleague.
Okay. So certainly through testimony that this committee has received, we have established that the Taliban have benefited from the aid that we send to Afghanistan. Mr. West, this past November, Saigar Sopko testified that he has been trying to meet with you since you were appointed 2.5 years ago. He has met with every special representative for Afghanistan since 2012, but it wasn't until after Sopko testified publicly about your refusal to meet that you finally agreed to a meeting last week. Why did it take you 2.5 years and congressional testimony for you to finally meet with the Special Inspector General?
I was glad to have the opportunity. The State Department respects the role that SIGAR plays in the oversight of Afghanistan policy, and we had, I think, a candid and productive exchange that I hope will continue.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, why did it take you 2.5 years?
I was glad to have the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Sopko. I think we need to do so more often.
A lot faster than 2.5 years?
You know, when decisions are made about whether to meet with an oversight body, it is a conversation that I have together with the leadership of the State Department. When we had those discussions, we didn't feel it was appropriate at the
But
time.
given his testimony before this committee, given his reports, given the contradiction between some of the things that you have testified to and what he has said, wouldn't you think it would actually behoove you to quickly get to the bottom of the discrepancies between you and he on what is actually happening with the Taliban?
You know, I think at the outset of the administration, our sense was that SIGAR's role was to oversee reconstruction activities. We're completely out of the reconstruction activities. What we're doing is to meet the basic needs, humanitarian needs of Afghanistan. I think, you know, we've had a time to reflect on the kind of relationship we want with SIGAR. Deputy Secretary Verma had, I think, a productive meeting with him back in June. We're on the cusp of arriving at so-called enhanced protocols for the treatment of sensitive information that SIGAR authorities want access to. My engagement with him, likewise, is an effort to improve our relationship and a reflection.
I would just
our work
note,
together.
Mr. Chairman, before concluding, bureaucracy is a lot less important than figuring out whether or not the Taliban is benefiting from U.S. taxpayer money. And I would hope that moving forward, the nonsensical bureaucracy and discussions about what kind of relationship we have is a lot less important than dealing with the actual issue of whether or not the Taliban is using U.S. taxpayer money to fund their operations.